In the quiet depths of a moonlit forest, a young soul master named Kael knelt beneath the sprawling canopy of the trees. His breath came in ragged gasps, the faint glow of his soul rings pulsing faintly in the darkness. Around him, the night whispered secrets, and shadows danced like restless spirits. Kael had always been an outcast, born with the rare and mysterious martial soul known as the Forest of Eternal Night. He was feared and misunderstood by the villagers who saw his powers as unnatural. The ancient tree that manifested behind him during battle, its dark leaves shimmering faintly, was a symbol of mystery and power, yet it marked him as different. He remembered the day he first awakened his soul. At just 10 years old, the towering tree had erupted from the ground in a surge of energy, its roots weaving through the air like serpents. The villagers had fled in terror, and even his parents had looked at him with something akin to fear. That night, under the light of the full moon, Kael vowed to prove that his martial soul was not a curse, but a gift. Years of training followed, alone in the wilderness, where the forest became his only friend. The Forest of Eternal Night granted him abilities unlike any other. His first soul ring, Vine Lash, gave him the power to summon and control vines that moved like living creatures. The second, Shadow Cloak, let him vanish into the shadows, a ghost among the trees. But it was his third soul ring, Night's Embrace, that truly defined him. In moments of desperation, he could conjure a dome of shadowy energy, a refuge where he could breathe, think, and heal. It was in that darkness that Kael found his strength, where he reminded himself that he was not alone. Now, at 18, Kael stood at the edge of his destiny. The villagers who once feared him had come to him for help. A band of merciless raiders had descended upon their home, and none could stand against them. Kael could see the fear in their eyes as they pleaded, their voices trembling. "We have no one else to turn to," they said. Kael clenched his fists, his heart heavy. He had every reason to walk away, to let them face the consequences of their cruelty. Yet deep within, he couldn't ignore the quiet voice of justice that had guided him all his life. That night, under the pale light of the crescent moon, Kael faced the raiders. His martial soul erupted behind him, the colossal tree stretching into the heavens, its iridescent leaves shimmering like stars. The 5 soul rings around him glowed brilliantly: green, dark gray, deep purple, silver, and gold. The battle was fierce. Vines lashed out like whips, binding and disarming his enemies. Shadows cloaked him as he darted between attackers, striking with precision. When the leader of the raiders charged, Kael unleashed Eternal Bloom. The air shimmered as an explosion of energy radiated from him, draining the life force of his enemies and leaving behind a field of luminous flowers. As the last raider fell, Kael stood amidst the glowing blossoms, his chest heaving. The villagers emerged from their hiding places, staring in awe at the young man who had saved them. Their fear had turned to reverence, their whispers filled with wonder. Kael met their gazes, his expression unreadable. He felt no triumph, only the weight of the choices he had made. "Why?" one of the elders asked, stepping forward. "After everything we've done to you, why would you save us?" Kael's voice was quiet but firm. "Because the strength of a soul master isn't just in their power. It's in their ability to protect what matters, even when no one else will." As dawn broke over the forest, Kael turned and walked away, the Forest of Eternal Night fading behind him. The villagers watched him go, their hearts heavy with guilt and gratitude. Kael disappeared into the trees, his path uncertain, but his purpose clear. In the shadows of the forest, he found not just strength, but hope. A hope that one day the world would see him not as a curse, but as a force for good.